Greetings from a very cold Houston,
It
Texas.
is cold.
The date of this filming is January 20th, and we're getting ready for what for Houston is a hard winter's night. Cold, freezing rain, snow, a few things. So we've been preparing all weekend for this so that we don't, as hopefully we have no mishaps.
So the adventures of motorhome living is things like this.
Extreme temperatures.
I mean, in a home, they take a bit of extra effort. In a motorhome,
More so.
we're much more in tune with it. So it is a little bit of a adventure and a little extra thought into things.
Absolutely.
But it's exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always said I'd like to be where it snowed more often.
As long as we don't lose power, we'll be fine. I have an electric blanket. I'll be warm. And if power goes out, I crank my generator and I still have power.
Yep. It's good. We'll be fine, but it is unusual weather for us here. We haven't done a video in two
Since
and a half
November.
months, and partly it was because, and I think we'd let people know that November, December, we intentionally slow down. It's kind of our off time. And I think last time I talked to you, I was at least acknowledging the need for some knee surgery. And I thought I would be doing it this time of year and I'd be in recuperation by now. So I put off a whole lot of plans. And as it turned out, I didn't have the surgery for a variety of reasons, mostly just scheduling things with the doctors and holidays, et cetera, to where we've indefinitely postponed that right now. But it just opened up a whole lot of other opportunities that we weren't expecting. Since we talked to you last, we finished up the year. I went to Zimbabwe, had a phenomenal time. Always an adventure when we go to Zimbabwe. And spent 2 weeks with my friend Jim Taylor, and it just was a powerful time. Always, anytime we go, every time we've gone, this would be my third trip,
at least.
My third trip. Each one has been they've been unique, but they've all had in common. I've seen some of the most powerful things I've ever seen in ministry going on there. So I love going.
So share the one story from this last trip that you went that you want to share.
Well, there was a lot. There were a lot of things going on again, but the one that stands out is that we encountered one night a young man who came forward and gave his life to Christ at one of our meetings, and he acknowledged and identified himself as a witch doctor.
A real live practicing witch
doctor?
Live,
the real deal. And apparently, by the stories we heard from the village people, not that village people.
I was going to say,
it was the
no, sorry.
No, the villagers. They said, no, this guy is powerful. He's one of the most powerful witch doctors in the area, and everybody either respects him or is scared of him. So, but this young man said he wanted to follow Jesus, and after when he came back the next day, had a pretty dramatic, as you might expect, deliverance session or two. And after that, he indicated he wanted to go and burn all of his paraphernalia, the things that he uses for his practice, which
tools of the trade.
There's some interesting stuff among those. Probably the most prized was a long python skin that he says, when I wrap that around me, I become a different person. I completely transform. So to him, that was such a massive piece. But that and the clothing and the robes and different sashes and things that he used. So we went to his village to gather all of that up, and he
thought you were going to just burn it at his home, but he had another plan.
I did. I thought we were going to do something there. What we did, I mean, part of it was not everything he was looking for was where we went first. So he gathered up, 2 or 3, big sackfuls of stuff that we took with us. But in that encounter at the first village, or at his village, the people were gathering. They were really interested in what's going on. So there's a large crowd starts forming around his home or his storage area. We had
Now,
all this stuff.
this happened in the evening, right? So it was kind of dark?
It was, no, this part was still afternoon. So
Okay.
this was still afternoon. Evening, we wound up burning it. That's the rest of the story. But during this part, it was in the afternoon. And when we gathered this stuff, the crowd gathers, and some of them they're kind of like, some of them are upset because he's saying he's done with this, and some are very concerned because he's kind of their source for getting power and getting things done. And then the rest were like, we don't believe him, we don't trust him, he's, we're afraid of him, we're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt right now. But in all of this, he continues to just pack. I mean, it takes a while, so he continued to go through this stuff, and eventually, one of the leaders with the group I was traveling with just starts preaching to that crowd. And as he preaches, he's telling, this is what has happened. He is following Jesus. This is who Jesus is. And does a real simple, I mean, it wasn't but 10 minutes. But in that 10 minutes, we probably had another 15 or 20 people who said, we want to follow Jesus. And the idea was we were there to plant a church. So it was not just a decision out in the woods. It was people were actually given an opportunity to connect and join this new church. And so it was a powerful time. It really was one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. But by now that evening, we had gone back and we'd gathered the rest of his stuff. And then it was dark. We put it all in a pile. And I had told Marie, actually, I sent Marie a video while we were gathering stuff in the village. So she had a little video clip of this going on. And I'm saying, here's what's happening. I mean, this is crazy. You be praying for this because this is really powerful. Well, Marie sent me back a
message.
A message. She sent back said, I think I've got this as a prophetic message for this young man.
And what I had heard was this.
Right.
I really wasn't thinking about it when I saw the quick video and everything, but when I pushed stop on that, I went to get up and I felt like I really heard the Lord clearly say, tell this young man that he is now a light bringer. Instead of operating as an agent of darkness, he is now a light bringer. This is his destiny, and that I'm changing his name, and I'm changing it to Lucas, which means bringer of light.
And so, and
I texted you back with that.
She texted me back in the evening, and it wasn't very long after that we're getting ready to burn this stuff. And so I just simply took that message and I gave it to the bishop of the group of churches that was doing the work. I gave it to him and I said, if you choose to use this or not, that's up to you. But this is what my wife, and he knows Marie, she was there last year. So he was very, he treated it as important information, right? So as they burned this, and gathered around and some songs and praying, the bishop stood and says, I want to pronounce this word over you that came from Marie in the United States. And he pronounces, you are no longer an agent of darkness. You are the light bringer, and God is changing your name to Lucas. And the young man, I'm tearing up. The young man was just so moved by that. It was so important to him. And the transformation, even in just this 24-hour period from when we first met him to this place, it's like he dropped 10 years. He went from being kind of scary, tough, hard, and all that goes with it to almost childlike. It was such a gentleness and just such a transformation. And the next day we were scheduled to do some baptisms. And the way they do baptisms there is, it's very got a system. They've got things that they do. And one of the things they do is as they're baptizing people in the village, they'll tell them, you have to be baptized essentially in a Christian name. If you've got a name that's tied to paganism or some of their idols, we will not baptize you. And you can choose another name or we'll give you one. Well, as we're going through the process, this young man is taking his his place on the step to get into the water. And they asked him, "So in what name will you be baptized in?" And he just broke into a grin. He says, "I am Lucas."
Mm.
And we baptized him in that moment. So that was, and again, I'm very just emotional just telling the story. It was one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. So just a moving time.
And when Duke was gone to Zimbabwe, I had been scheduled to go to Belize, and we were going to leave on that same day. But that morning when I woke up to go to Belize, I was so sick. I barely got you to the airport, and I had to, unfortunately, send a text to the group that I was supposed to be going with and helping lead and do a discernment trip, and just say, "I'm so sorry, I cannot make this trip." So the week and a half you were gone, I was sick.
You were sick. And the truth was, I'd been sick the week leading up to it.
I
And
know.
I wasn't
So
sure I
I
was
got
going to
it
be
from
able to.
you.
You got it from me, and you get all of my best qualities. So
Ugh.
I was expecting. I almost thought I was going to make it, and just the last day I recovered enough to go, and then Marie wakes up that day very sick. So anyway, that's our adventure. Since then, well, I actually got back from Zimbabwe and turned around in 2 days and went to Colombia on a very short trip, really a one-day turnaround that came up. It wasn't expected or on the calendar, so I went to Bogota, spent 2 days. A powerful, a good time there, and then we kind of had
and then it was downtime.
we've had 7-8 weeks where we were pretty much down. I really did it. Some of you who
Barely.
don't think I can do that. We did go to Jackson. We wound up making a trip to Mississippi and spoke at the vineyard there in Brandon and in Flowood, and then we
went to the Point.
Went and ministered at the Point in Brandon. But that's really that's the extent of our.
Yeah, we had a great Thanksgiving family time over Thanksgiving, and we were planning on having another great family time over Christmas. And 2 days before Christmas, that was been a Sunday evening, I started not feeling well again. And then by Monday, I was running fever and chills and whatever. And so our Christmas
was spent mostly in bed.
For about the next 10 days, we were sick. Oh my gosh, we were sick. And it was like, well, I guess the grace that had covered us for the past year was like, not that God was, just storing it up for us, but it was kind of like, oh my gosh. And so twice over the holidays I was sick, which maybe is more of an indicator of the fact of how active last year was.
It might be. It might be.
But it was still a good time, and we made up for it around New Year's with family and friends. A lot of time
with some grandkids and our church. Just being at our home church for a few weeks nice. Has been a real blessing. And then had let's just say starting out the new year. New opportunities. There's been some things that we certainly didn't have on the schedule. Now, as it worked out, because of my surgery expectations, I didn't plan and I didn't book a whole lot of stuff for this, certainly the first half of the year, because I thought I might be recuperating. So I left it very gray and open. And then we got a call early December, I guess. It just kind of said this could. We were told that one of the churches we visited this past year in Lancaster, Ohio, the Lancaster Vineyard had lost their pastor rather suddenly with very short notice, and they were asking if we would be interested in coming and serving as interim pastors at the church. Maybe for the next foreseeable future until they could hire somebody full time. And, we've been asked that, I guess, at least 3 times in the last 3 years from different places, and it never seemed right. But
what made this one different?
Well, there's a lot that made this one different as you think about it. And you want to tell the story about the campground?
Well, like you said, we had been up there earlier in the summer, and the place that we had stayed at an RV campground there for a couple of weeks.
About 3 weeks.
And we really, really liked it. And so we thought, this one worked out really well.
Listen, work Ohio out of this area.
Do Ohio and Michigan and most of the Midwest and everything. We thought, you know what? We're planning on getting out of the Houston heat again next year in 2025. So you went and talked to the management and reserved a site there for April to September.
April to September, I reserved
2025.
Paid a deposit, thinking we'd be coming back to plant there as we worked in that region this coming summer.
So we already had that on the schedule, and then this church calls, and we were kind of like, well, we're not going to just give you a quick answer, but in the process from their side and our side, we just kind of felt like, well, we're already booked to be there.
Literally going to be living 4 miles from that church most of the summer.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, there were several other things, but we all determined between us and their leadership, elder board, that this seemed to be what God was doing. So a couple weeks ago, they officially sent us the offer, and we officially accepted the offer. So second week of February, we will be driving, not the coach. We're going to put it in storage. It's just too cold. We're not even going to try to do a winter in Ohio, just outside of Columbus, but we're going to put this in storage for a couple months, and then it'll be about the right timing of when we were planning on going up anyway. And we have an apartment that somebody is letting us stay in for free.
So we'll be up there February and March in an apartment. Then we'll come back and get the coach and take it up for our April through September plan.
So does this mean we're not doing any other of our normal stuff we've been doing?
No, and that was key. We would not have done this if it had really put a crimp on the things that we felt we were supposed to be doing. So we actually part of our agreement is that we will still be able to go and minister in other churches at least twice a month. We'll still have ability to go to the conferences and the
fulfill our commitments
some of the mission stuff we do with Vineyard, with area pastors gatherings and things of that nature. So we'll still be engaging in that. But we will spend most of our, particularly midweeks, will be mostly focused on this church and
coming alongside them and serving them as they pursue changes and transitions that they're hoping for in the future. But just to be there and kind of provide a support to the leadership.
They've got a pretty strong leadership team. It's a pretty healthy church. It's got a lot going for it that we're looking forward. I can say I'm really looking forward to just getting to spend time focused on their leaders, on the teams and the systems and some of those kind of things that will be some of the things I really enjoy. And I haven't actually thought about, have we missed leading a church? We really have not. Been too busy to think about it. But as I slowed down, started thinking about it, going like, that's part of it that I really am looking forward to. So we'll see what God wants to do in that.
But the next big thing coming up for us is the mission leadership meeting, which is the annual big missions conference for Vineyard USA. And this year it's going to be a global gathering.
You are one of the keynotes.
I am.
You're the closing game.
I am. I'm doing the closing session, which shocked me. I didn't even know I was being considered for speaking, and then the committee that had gone off to decide the big points for this year's MLM said, "Oh yeah, we've decided you're speaking," and I went, "Oh, really?" So I would appreciate your prayers on that, and I think it's going to be it's going to be a special one because this one is global. We have a lot of ABC representation from around the world and other countries.
Lots of folks
and
coming.
lots of folks coming to New Braunfels, Texas, the first week of February.
Yeah.
So we would appreciate that, and just your prayers for us as we embark on this interim pastor role. That's different than taking on just normally the senior pastor role that you were used to doing. An interim senior pastor role is a little bit different in its scope and
has its own challenges.
So be praying for us and the church.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I know it's God, and we are expecting some really amazing things for that church. And I just I'm frankly, I'm really humbled that they would think of us, and secondly, that this is what God's doing. So this is strategic in His scope and in ours, and we will see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a full plate. It's again, it's New Year with new opportunities. It's not
Definitely
completely
didn't
different,
see
but
some of what is happening. We didn't have had no clue anything like that was going to come. So, it's always an adventure. And we're grateful that you're along the ride with us.
we are. So bless you, thank you. Hope we get to see you guys, each one of you soon. As we're traveling. So God bless you.